Hello, everybody. Welcome to IECA Global Committee webinar. Our topic today is helping Chinese families decode holistic admissions. My name is Jack Cao. I'm an independent education consultant based in Beijing, China. The entire webinar will be recorded, so please mute yourself. At the end of the webinar, you will have the time to ask your questions, or you can email me to ask me any questions if you find the questions later on. Okay, let's start. Okay, here we are. You can find my email, jack@dyo.com.cn. Okay, let's start. So the Chinese students, so the parents are very anxious. But why? In China, the education makes the families very anxious because the parents want to have their kids to have the best education, and the kids want to go to the best school because the best school will give them a chance to get a good job, to get a good payment, to get a good future, to get a good dream. China has implemented one-child policy for many years, I think since 1978 until 2 years ago. So it's almost 40 years. So that's the clients, that's the students who are serving. They are from the single child family. In each family, the child will be cared by parents and also by grandparents, 6 people. They are anxious because they are anxious about test scores. They are anxious about their interest development, the hobbies, character development, lots of things. But the most important thing is that they are anxious about test scores. Because in China, when students go to a higher level of the education, let's say from the elementary to the middle school, from middle school to the high school, and from high school to the college or university, they have to participate in the test. And then the test schools will determine which college or which school the students can go to. So that's why the test schools are the major factor to make the Chinese families are very anxious. When the families decided to have their kids to go to the US, so they were first to look at the ranking published by the US News and World Reports. The college ranking actually is a Bible for most of the Chinese families, to choose US college. It's quite hard to convince them. I normally recommend families to do some alternative thinking, but it does not work well. Some families, can accept my ideas, my advice, but most of them do not. They still look at the ranking straightforwardly. Another thing is for them to anxious because the educational systems are quite different between the US and China. Most of the Chinese parents don't speak English. They have no living experiences in abroad countries. For the students, they got TOEFL score or IELTS score but they don't use English that often in their daily life. So it's not easy for them to get the independent research on the college, on the U.S. college. They are even not so active in communicating with admission officers of the U.S. colleges. So that the language and also the cultural issues makes them also very anxious. Another thing is that test schools and extracurricular activities. The parents and students understand that U.S. colleges require test schools, SAT, ACT, or TOEFL or IELTS. But they also know that U.S. colleges want to look at the extracurricular activities during the high school year. But the extracurricular activities are not part of the school education in China. So they have to spend time or even hire some professional to design some extracurricular activities for their kids during the spring breaks, school breaks, especially in the summer holidays, to meet the extracurricular activity requirements of the U.S. college. So this will make them very stressed, makes them very anxious because they have no that experience before. And another thing is that rumor, misleading, unethical business behaviors of agents, counselors, and test prep tutors. So this will make them also very anxious about their U.S. college admissions. So, okay, now let's look at the negative aspects of the elite education dream. When the Chinese students went to the U.S. colleges, some of them struggled because of depression and anxiety. Now, this is a report, a survey, which took on Yale's Chinese students. 130 Chinese students took that survey. Out of them, 45% of them were reported symptoms of depression, and 29% of them anxiety. Only 4% of the Chinese students at Yale can use Yale's mental health service. At the same time, for the U.S. college students in general, 11% of the U.S. students can use an on-campus mental service to help themselves. And about 13% of them are either reported depression or anxiety. The number is much lower than the Chinese students. So why the Chinese students are so depressed and anxious? The first reason is language barrier in academic settings. As I mentioned, the Chinese students learn English from the age of 6 or 5, but they don't use English in their daily life. They learn English for getting good schools. And schools will determine which college or which school they will go to. So they don't use English in their daily life. So when they go to the US and they enter the classroom, when they are exposed by the English speaking environment, they started to struggle. Another one is academic pressure. The the way of learning in China is quite different from that in the US. In China, the students take notes and do exams. And in the US, the college will emphasize on learning process. They will encourage students to communicate, to discuss, to debates, and also to present the ideas in the classrooms, which is quite difficult for the Chinese students to do that or to switch themselves into that educational system in a short periods. Another one is the social skills of adjusting the multiple culture environments. Chinese students live in a very single culture backgrounds environments, so they have no such kind of the experiences. That's for most of the Chinese students. Some of the Chinese students, they spend their summer vacation to the US or to the European countries to get the multicultural experiences. For those students, they'll get used to the campus life very quickly in the US. Another way, the students' concerns about the future prospects, not just the students, but also the parents as well. So the Chinese students, do the education because they believe the education could bring them a good job. But the situation is that the Chinese students are not so easy for them to stay in the US after graduation. So when they return back to China, they were consider if the US college education could bring some reputation, or some advantage for them to get a good job. So that's why they want to go to the big name universities, because they believe the big name university will have its graduates a better chance to get a good job when they return back to China. Another one is academic misconduct. For some Chinese students, when they are not prepared themselves, in terms of language, in terms of academic areas, they cheating or they plagiarizing in the US. That's not a good thing. A Chinese educational institution in the US reported that over 8,000 Chinese students were expelled by US colleges in a single year. So that's a lot. That's a big issue, for the Chinese students for the future Chinese students have to consider. Another way is rising dropout rates. A report shows that only 75% of the Chinese students graduated from Ivy League schools. That is about 20% below than the average graduation rate of the Ivy League schools because of depression and anxiety. The major factors that undermine the Chinese students in US college admissions. According to my counseling experience, I think one of the reasons is that overrating the grades and test scores, especially the test scores. That's because they are from China. So in our educational system, test scores determine everything. So students have to work hard to improve their test scores as much as possible. And otherwise, a realistic judgment of both parents and students. Both parents and students want to go to the big name universities, prestigious universities, elite college. So some of the parents are very some of the parents or the students are very crazy. When parents came to me in April 2 years ago, he showed me his son's college list, 25 colleges, including 25 national universities, top 20 national universities, and plus 5 top liberal colleges. It's impossible. His son is great, but it's too risky to only put the 25 top colleges on their list. None of the colleges accepted his son. So the judgment is also very important. Similar application materials. Yeah, most of the Chinese students prepare themselves in a very similar way. They spend lots of time on their test scores, and also they do the extracurriculums in a very similar way. Let's say they do the volunteer service, to help the seniors, or to teach the kids in the suburbs of the cities. And so they play piano or violin or do the basketball in sports. That's quite similar. Another one is lack of unique experience, either achievement or failure. And another one is hide themselves from the alternative choices to present themselves. I want to do more explanations about the alternative choices. Actually, later on in our show that's specifically. The alternative choices, including the interview, including the video, the videos, or some supplements portfolio, which could, to present the students in a different way. Another one is unethical behaviors, cheating or ghostwriting. It is quite easy if you want to find a ghost writer to write the essays for you. Most of the parents, some of the parents, still agree that they're to hire a ghost writer to write the essays for their kids, but they don't know that's what hurts or damage their kids' college application. Why the essay writing is so hard for Chinese students? The right-hand side, you can see a picture, which is an artwork by an artist, a Chinese artist I like very much. It's called Tang Zhigong. And you could say that Chinese students are educated like soldiers from their younger age. So they're trained to write in templates. So they don't encourage to write different, to speak out their real voice. So that's why they are not so critical. So they are not so creative. So it's quite hard for them to address the college essay prompts. They spend most of the after-school time to hone their academic or testing skills rather than develop their personal experience. So that's why it makes them, to have not much personal experiences to write on their essays. Lots of the Chinese parents ask this questions very often. Is TOEFL 105 enough? Really enough? I said yes. Oh, no score is perfect. My answer is to those parents. What can we do in the summer except the test prep? Lots of the parents have their kids, to go to the New Oriental or the other test prep programs for the entire summer, 2 months. For the US boarding school students, they even take the test prep programs for the entire 3 months in China. But that does not help them that often, that much. Are extracurricular activities compulsory? Actually not. I encourage the parents, or the students, to list their activities. Not many, maybe 3 or 4. That's enough. You don't have to list at least 10 activities, because that's not enough. The U.S. college admission people know that the China school, especially the public school, don't provide the extracurricular activities in the school curriculum. The U.S. college favor the Chinese students graduating from the U.S. college than Chinese schools, probably, because the U.S. school are called the college prep school, so they train the students, how to work, how to learn, and how to work each other, and how to do the activities, sports, arts. That's quite meets the admission requirements of the U.S. college than the Chinese schools. What can we do if a kid's SAT or TOEFL school were canceled for impersonal reasons? It's quite often. So I think the best way is to write to the ATS to do the explanations. Otherwise, they have to to retake the test. Are there any reliable backdoors to get in top college? A parent came to me 4 years ago, and his friends told him that if they could contribute $400,000 US to a fund, they could a foundation which could guarantee their kids to go to get into the UC Berkeley. But I don't recommend them to do that. I did not, because the UC Berkeley is too high for the kids. What college options work most for the TOEFL 80 students? That's a good question. I like to work with students with TOEFL 80 or 90, not 100, not 110. Because these lower school students are more willing to accept my advice. So actually, lots of the U.S. colleges could consider, the great college could consider students with TOEFL 80. Though that school is not good school in terms of the English proficiency, but it's a starting point, for the students could survive, and if they could work hard, they will thrive in the following college education years. What major help do Chinese students get a job in the U.S. after graduation? Oh, that's a good question. That's most of the parents, want to know, because you want to have their kids stay in the U.S. after graduation for maybe for just internship or not full-time employment, because that experience will give them some advantage when they return back into China. Will the political climate affect kids' visa applications? Yes, probably, but it's not. It's out of our control. Most of the students still could get visas, but some students will have some problems in their visa applications throughout China. Okay, so let's start. How to advise the Chinese clients. I think for independent educational consultants, we should started by learning the parents and also the students as much as possible before signing a contract. We have to have them to know our service we provide by asking them questions. And also the mutual trust and respect are also the key to the win-win counseling practice. Without trust and respect, the counseling practice will be a miserable life. Reach an agreement detailing the service provided and the duties of the two parties. Work out a feasible work plan for the coming 3 to 6 months at the first stage, and then to provide another work plan for the future 3 to 6 months. List the ways and frequency of communications, because if you are based in the US, we have about 12 hours differences, so from 12 to 15 hours differences, depending on your location in the US. So that's what makes you very busy. If you work with the Chinese clients, your morning should be very busy, because normally the Chinese students can talk to the counselors in the evening time, which is the beginning of the morning of the same day for the US-based counselors. Okay, the second one is familiarize them with the US education. The Chinese parents should normally use a Chinese article to learn about the U.S. college. The college guidebooks, the English version do not work in China. But I found very reliable resources for the U.S. college admissions, which is published by NACAC. The name is called Trusted Sources, seeking advice on applying to universities in another country. On the right-hand side, you can see the English version picture, but actually you can find the Chinese version, which is about 5 to 6 pages. That is quite useful. You can deliver that PDF format to your Chinese clients. Another one I think is the summer programs. For most of the Chinese students, they are depressed, anxious, because they don't have the multicultural learning experiences or living experiences. But the summer programs on the U.S. college can give the students the academic learning opportunities, and also could give them the opportunities to learn different cultures, which is quite important. Another one is campus visit. Campus visit is a very useful way for a counselor, especially for me, to convince parents or family to accept the college I referred For example, as the family is don't like the college, the University of Richmond, I recommend it to them, to the parents and to the students. But when they visited that university, Richmond, when they return back to China, they grade. And finally, they applied early to University of Richmond. And the girl is now a junior there, very successful. Before that, they only look at NYU, BU, or UCLA, or UC Berkeley, or BU, Boston College, the big name universities. So the campus visits can enhance their understanding of the U.S. college education. That's the best way. So encourage them to do that as early as possible. Another one is presentation webinar. Lots of the U.S. college admission people travel to China very often, maybe once a year or maybe twice a year. So they do the presentation of the webinar or seminar in China. So I normally encourage my students to attend these events and meet with admission people because they are very important to meet these people. These people are the readers of your college essays. If they know you, if they see you in person, that will give you more chance to be favorably considered. Learn about the school's curriculum and advise them how to prepare themselves academically for the U.S. college admission. That's quite difficult for U.S.-based counselors. But I listed the website, which is provided by the World Education Service. In that website, you can find the guideline about the U.S. About the China's high school curriculum, which is quite easy, quite useful for you to understand the general high school curriculum in China, and that will give you some basic ideas how to prepare the students to apply for the U.S. college admissions. Especially some colleges has some special requirements for some specific subjects. Another one is advising the China students the testing strategy. Testing is quite important part of the college admissions process. Which test SAT or ACT and TOEFL or IELTS. More and more negative news about SAT makes the picture the Chinese families need to think about if they should give up SAT and then do the ACT instead. That might be a good idea because ACT is more stable in many of the ways, but SAT is very risky, especially lots of the exams in the past of 3 to 4 years were cancelled in China. The SATs in Hong Kong and also in the other locations of the Asian countries. For the IELTS and TOEFL, I think it's quite it's not that differences because IELTS is also widely accepted by the U.S. colleges, including the top colleges. And the test timeline, normally I I prefer my advisees to finish the TOEFL before junior summer and SATs to the senior October. That will make them make themselves ready for the early admissions. and also for them to maybe take some alternative tests after October of their senior year. So no score is perfect, and scores factor weight is dropping. So most of these U.S. colleges, especially top colleges, look at much more beyond the test scores today. The guidance of the essays, right? I normally request the students to complete a well-designed questionnaire and then brainstorm while reviewing their life experiences in their questionnaires and determine a critical life stories in which the students' personal qualities are embodied most. Advise them to write a specific and direct way. That's quite difficult. Chinese students like to write something in general way, not that specific or direct. So I have to tell them, you have to speak out straightforwardly or specifically. So that takes time. Raise their confidence in presenting honesty in terms of setbacks and failures. Chinese students don't like to write their setbacks, their challenge, their failures in their essays. But that might be their shining parts of their essays. So I encourage my students to be honest, to be an honest writer, storyteller, to tell the admission people your real life experiences. That will make them stand out. Advise students how to present their demonstrated interests in specific colleges. That's another story. I encourage my students to work with me as early as possible, because that will give them enough time to be familiar with the college I recommend them, and to relate to spend time to relate themselves with this college by communicating with admission people, by doing by campus visits, or by doing the summer programs at the college. So lots of the things you can relate yourself, you can with the college you apply to. So that's what. So when the application period comes, you can show the demonstrated interest out to the admission office. Choosing college, do not just stare at the highly ranked college. Yep. Lots of the Chinese students look at the top 20, top 20, top 30, or top 50 universities, national universities. But in the US, over 2,500 four-year college, about almost 400 students, 400 colleges called the best college. 15% of the all the colleges are called the best college. How to choose a college that fit you most? It's a time-consuming job. You have to find. So I recommend the students to I normally like to give the students some alternative choices, especially the hidden gem college. I think it's good fit, but the admission rate is not that low. So the students have more opportunities at this college, like University of Richmond, Villanova, Grinnell, St. Clara, Clark, Franklin Marshall. I just say a few. Why are the unnamed colleges are so good options? I think that's that's a question. Independent education consultants should ask ourselves before we refer the college to the students. We have to convince ourselves that's a good choice for this specific students. So that's why the IECAs spent lots of time to visit different schools, colleges, and to increase their knowledge about the college. Early or regular, most of the Chinese students apply early, but the early rate is quite low because they apply early, especially ED. The ED is a very far-reach school, so the rate is quite low. But the statistics show that Ivy Leagues admitted 57% of the Chinese applicants through the early admissions. So early admission is a strategy, but most of my students do that, but the early rate is not so high. Trust and bonds work most in early admissions. Yeah, we have to help the students to build up the trust between the students and the admission people. So through the campus visits or the interview or some opportunities, the communications. Advising the Chinese students, right? Have the Chinese students make most of the alternative ways to stand out in the applications. Lots of the alternative ways are available for the Chinese students and also for the other international students to reach, to approach to the US college admissions. One is a face-to-face interview with admissions officers or alumni. Most of the private colleges do that, provide that service. Yeah. Another one is a third-party interview service. Initially and Vericant, two companies are based in Beijing, and we have and the services are available through the online interview service and also the offline, the face-to-face interview is also available. And most of the more and more US colleges are recommending especially the Chinese applicants to take the third-party interview service in their college admission process. Another way is Skype interview with admission officers. Then followed by the self-introduction video or portfolio and some other opportunities to connect students with the college applied, like presentation or personal reaching out to the admission officers with specific inquiries. Advising Chinese students. 7, have the students keep connected with college through the admission process. Reaching out in an appropriate manner is another chance to demonstrate their interests, providing the subsequent information as part of the work to build up the bonds. Advise students to make decisions among the admitted colleges. Don't make it by rank only. Campus cultures, student body, supportive service to international students, special programs like the off-campus learning or the internships are also crucial, very important for the Chinese students. revisit college to grasp more fresh knowledge and understanding. That's also very important as well. I normally recommend students to go to spend a week or maybe 2 weeks, to revisit the college, in April, and then make a decision from all the among the college admitted. Because the revisit will give the students a deeper understanding of the academic and also social life of the college. That's very important. Advise the students to finalize the enrollment work, which is part of my job, but most of the, I don't know if the US-based counselors do that work, because, let's say, enrollment contract. In China, when students go to school or the college, they don't have to sign a contract with the school or the college. But in the US, that's different. So they should be familiar with the contract. I will do the translation. I will do the explanation to the parents and also to the students to help them to finalize the enrollment contract. And also we have to help the students to deal with the waitlist issues. Lots of the students got themselves waitlisted, and then the waitlist will last the entire summer. So we have to help the students, to keep the students communicate, with admission people to grasp the lost piece of hope. And also student visa application. Student visa application is my job actually is to help the students how to answer the questions of the immigration officers at the U.S. embassies, and to help them to give some advice how to better answer these questions. Academic advising before college advisor is assigned. So when some students want to choose a college courses, I would like to give them some advice if their college advisor is not assigned. Housing and travel logistic issues. Yes, China students were hire me, also to book the dorm, or also to do the travel arrangement for themselves. Some parents even accompany the kids, to go to the campus. Okay, this is my webinar. Any questions? If you have any questions, please ask me directly now. If you find any questions later on, please email me at jack@dyo.com.cn. And so this webinar is recorded and will be available at the following links. So, okay, thank you so much for all your time.